Reality did not shatter with fire or fury. It trembled quietly, subtly, like silk stretched beyond its capacity, the kind of tearing that vibrates through existence itself without a single sound reaching mortal ears. Strange felt it first, not with his eyes, not with conscious thought, but deep in the marrow of instinct, where the eye of Agamotto burned hot against his chest, pulsing, demanding awareness. The sanctum's wards screamed in silent protest, golden sigils snapping and pulsing under strain, as if every thread of magic itself was straining against a force unseen. Spells, diagnostics, divinations, nothing returned information. There was no signature, no breach to measure, only absence. The universe itself had skipped a heartbeat, leaving a wound in reality that whispered wrongness into the air. Strange's hands moved on their own, tracing intricate patterns, summoning golden glyphs that hovered, pulsing, alive with power. The crack formed above Greenwich Village, violet-blue edges bleeding into nothingness, folding inward like water spiraling down a drain that led nowhere. Every instinct screamed that this was a force far older and more intelligent than any mortal mind could comprehend. Through magically enhanced vision, Strange watched the city. Pedestrians looked up, phones drawn, pointing. Shield satellites would soon reposition, alerts would ping to every enhanced individual in the tri-state area in under a minute. Strange's mind worked faster. Golden sigils formed, hovering perfectly. He attempted to map the anomaly, measure its energy, detect a pattern. Nothing. Not corrupted, not blocked, just nothing. Then it moved. Rimuru emerged first as a sphere of void energy, then coalescing into humanoid form, silver blue hair catching the sunlight, attire precise, minimalist, almost invisible to mundane eyes, but blazing to any with mystical sensitivity. Every step deliberate, controlled, the air subtly bending around the presence, as if reality itself acknowledged the anomaly. The sanctum itself responded. Walls quivered, wards hummed, stones vibrating with centuries of latent consciousness. Strange's cloak of levitation rippled, sensing a danger he could not quantify. Every sigil hovering in gold, ready, every spell poised for instantaneous deployment. Rimuru's golden eyes scanned methodically, assessing the sanctum, the city, and Strange himself. Calm, intelligent, patient, no aggression, no malice. The presence alone, however, was destabilizing. "Who are you?" Strange's voice carried authority, every syllable a binding, establishing cosmic jurisdiction. "Rimuru Tempest," came the reply. Accentless, deliberate, unbound, honest. No hidden magic, no concealed weapon, just a name offered freely. Strange's mind raced, cataloguing, analyzing, calculating threat potential. The eye of Agamotto pulsed hotter, sensing layers of existence Rimuru inhabited, dimensions beyond mortal perception, concepts outside physical reality. Somewhere far above, in planes that brushed eternity itself, cosmic attention stirred, patient, vast, infinitely aware. Rimuru stepped onto the sanctum steps without sound, without displacing air, as if landing itself were optional. Perfectly proportioned, calculated, every detail meticulously rendered. The eyes gave it away, golden, reflecting spectrums invisible to human sight. Strange's hands hovered near defensive enchantments, fingers twitching with spells half-formed, ready for activation. The moment stretched, heavy with potential catastrophe, the air thick with cosmic tension. Time slowed perceptibly. The afternoon sunlight fell in sharp slants across Greenwich Village, long shadows painted on streets that would remain oblivious to the anomaly at their heart. Then, a whisper of wrongness elsewhere, rising in the city, minutes from becoming disaster. Strange's jaw tightened. "The universe isn't letting me ignore this," he muttered. voice low, tense. This isn't just Earth's problem anymore. A pause. Rimuru's eyes tracked the sanctum, every flicker, every hum of wards, every particle of magical energy. Observation, calculation, nothing else. The world did not bend, it adjusted. The building itself seemed alive, shifting slightly to accommodate the new variable. Corridors stretching subtly, thresholds bending as if reality itself tested Rimuru's intent. Strange's cloak twitched as if aware, extending across his shoulders, spreading wider to shield against what it could not yet identify. Every movement calculated, every spell primed. Centuries of cosmic crises had honed his response, not raw power, but preparation. Every defensive enchantment was layered, overlapping, poised. Then came the faint vibration in the city. A tremor, almost imperceptible. Something else stirred, something Rimuru could not hide, something massive, ancient, and hungry. Strange felt it first in the gut, the way sorcerers recognize power beyond calculation. Cosmic attention intensified. Eternity itself leaned closer, patient, observing the anomaly. Rimuru's golden eyes shifted to meet Strange's, calm, unreadable, and unafraid. "I mean no harm," came the soft, deliberate statement. "No lies, no tricks, just truth layered with calculation." Strange studied, every muscle taut, every finger ready. The eye of Agamotto demanded more than observation. It wanted engagement, probing deeper into Rimuru's essence. Strange resisted. He had seen multiverses almost destroyed by curiosity misapplied. The wrong step here could unravel dimensions. Then the first signs of outside interest appeared. Somewhere above, beyond immediate perception, something massive stirred. Celestial-level attention, subtle yet undeniable. The sanctum's ward shivered, a silent scream that this presence alone was a problem worth observing. The golden sigils around Strange's hands pulsed, not with aggression but with readiness. Rimuru remained calm, observing, calculating, waiting. And then, before either could act further, the first whispers of incoming Avengers reached Strange, not through sight, but through instinct, through energy, through the city itself, bending to acknowledge a new variable. The universe was about to introduce more players, and nothing here would remain quiet. The air inside the sanctum shifted subtly as Rimuru stepped past the threshold. The building itself seemed to inhale, corridors stretching and folding, geometry bending in ways that defied human perception. Strange's eyes followed, scanning every detail. Golden glyphs floated around him, measuring, probing, seeking weaknesses or intent. Every sigil resonated with the sanctum's own consciousness, amplifying the vigilance that centuries of sorcerers had woven into stone, wood, and crystal. Rimuru's presence was quiet but immense, every movement precise, calculated, yet perfectly natural. The faint hum of void energy clung to them both, a whisper in the air, perceptible only to the most sensitive senses. Strange could feel the pulse of power, not dark, not corrupted, just fundamentally other, a pattern outside the framework of any magical or scientific theory he had ever known. "Sit," Strange finally said, gesturing toward a chair that materialized smoothly, relocated from the sanctum's hidden furniture stores. Rimuru remained standing, evaluating, unbothered. The gesture itself was a test, a subtle probe of Rimuru's intent. The two beings regarded each other for a long, silent moment. Strange's mind catalogued, humanoid-enhanced physiology, golden void energy signature, magical aptitude beyond human comprehension. Rimuru's eyes reflected not curiosity alone, but a methodical analysis of the environment, of the man, of the potential outcomes of this meeting. Every breath, every blink, every shift in posture was data. "Your arrival tore through multiple protective layers," Strange said, voice level, carrying authority and restrained power. The dimensional barriers around Earth are still healing from previous incursions. That was no accident. Somewhere else, Rimuru replied simply, but not particularly informative. Calm, detached, factual. Strange's mind raced. He could deduce much more than Rimuru offered. The answer was true, but incomplete. The sanctum responded. Wards flared, layered enchantments pulsed, and the walls seemed to hum in a low, resonant tone. Every piece of the building's mystical architecture recognized Rimuru as a new variable, an entity not meant to exist in this space, yet present. The air grew heavier, thick with tension. Strange's hands hovered near defensive sigils, cloak of levitation rippled across his shoulders. Every spell he could muster was partially formed, hovering on the edge of activation. "Are you a threat to Earth?" His voice was calm, professional, yet underlaid with the urgency of the unknown. Rimuru tilted their heads slightly, golden eyes assessing, calculating. "Not intentionally. I do not seek conquest or destruction. I move where the barriers are weak. Passage was available, opportunity, not plan." A subtle pulse rippled through the sanctum. Strange's golden sigils flickered, detecting traces of observation from beyond Earth's conceptual layers. Cosmic entities, patient, vast, incomprehensible, had noticed the anomaly. Eternity was aware. The living tribunal stirred, a silent waiting pressure pressing down through the dimensions. Strange felt the weight of observation, a responsibility far beyond his own power. Rimuru's calmness contrasted sharply with the tension in the room. Every subtle shift of energy, every flare of the sanctum's wards, every flicker in the golden sigils reflected the impossibility of the situation. A being of immense power, morally neutral, ethically ambiguous, moving freely where no mortal or immortal should tread. The first external signs of response appeared. Outside, subtle tremors began to ripple through the streets. Strange's enhanced senses detected movement approaching at impossible speeds, too fast for human or conventional enhanced physiology. "The Avengers," Strange muttered. His hand hovered near a defensive matrix ready. The universe, it seemed, was escalating. Rimuru's golden eyes followed the subtle shifts in the energy patterns, aware of every potential intervention, calm, methodical, calculating, every option analyzed. The entity's presence alone had already rewritten the rules of engagement. "Prepare," Strange said softly, to no one in particular. Cloak rippled wider, wards strengthened, glyphs intensified. The air itself seemed to thicken, charged with anticipation. And then, as if summoned by instinct, the first streaks of red and gold pierced the sky outside the sanctum's windows. Tony Stark in full armor, scanning, assessing, and preparing for a confrontation unlike any Earth had seen before. The sanctum felt alive. Every corner, every wall, every crystal pulsed with awareness, aware of Rimuru's presence, as though the building itself was taking careful measure of a new equation introduced into its centuries-old calculus. Strange moved deliberately, steps light, hands floating near defensive glyphs, eyes scanning the entity across the room. The air itself seemed taut, heavy with energy that vibrated along frequencies humans couldn't perceive, frequencies Rimuru exploited effortlessly. "You exist outside conventional rules," Strange said, voice steady yet layered with tension. "Not dark, not corrupted, just incompatible. The laws here, physics, magic, probability, bend in your presence. Every step you take is a disruption." Rimuru tilted their head, golden eyes reflecting the sanctum's light, assessing, weighing. "I do not intend disruption. I move where the pathways are open, observing, interacting, calculating outcomes." Calculating outcomes? Strange's lips tightened. You're speaking of consequences that might ripple through entire realities. Do you understand what that entails? His hands hovered over a glyph pulsing with gold and violet energy, partially formed, ready to snap into defensive action. I understand probability, Rimuru said calmly. Not choice, not morality. Outcome. The words were deliberate, precise, almost mathematical. Golden energy shifted subtly around the entity, as if it existed in a space slightly offset from the normal plane of reality. A shiver ran through the sanctum, a warning that something massive approached Earth, a presence even more incomprehensible than Rimuru. Strange felt it first in the core of his being, massive, patient, observing, vast. Eternity itself, the living tribunal, ancient conceptual hierarchies of the universe, were now focused here, testing, observing. The weight of their attention pressed down through the layers of space and time, subtle but undeniable. Outside, the first stirrings of chaos began. Shield drones repositioned, scanning, humming in sync with their satellites above. Across the city, traffic lights flickered erratically, subtle electromagnetic interference. Pedestrians noticed nothing consciously, but subconscious unease rippled through their motions. Strange's senses picked up micro-shifts in energy, fractures in probability that had never existed before. Thor arrived, thunder announcing him like a drumbeat. He stepped onto the sanctum's roof, divine power radiating, the scent of ozone and storms following him. His gaze fell on Rimuru, ancient eyes narrowing, scanning, measuring. Thor had fought celestials, dragons, entities older than stars, but this presence was different. Not necessarily a threat, but absolutely an unknown variable. "Who are you, stranger?" Thor's voice carried the weight of eons, each word a probe, a test. Rimuru met his gaze evenly, golden eyes unflinching. "Rimuru Tempest," came the calm reply. No malice, no arrogance, no conceit. Simply presence. Strange's fingers twitched, preparing spells, defensive arrays, containment sequences. The cloak of levitation rippled across his shoulders like a living organism. "Not intentionally hostile," Rimuru repeated, and every word carried an implicit warning, observation, calculation, and consequence. Before Strange could respond, scarlet energy curled into the room. Wanda Maximoff stepped through a doorway that had not existed moments before, eyes narrowing, sensing wrongness. "Magic. Wrong," she said softly, her voice trembling at the edges. "Not dark, not corrupted, just wrong." "Exactly," Strange murmured, adjusting glyphs in midair, outside framework. "Beyond measure." Bruce Banner entered, tablet in hand, green light reflecting off his glasses. "The readings don't make sense. Dimensional barriers aren't flexing, space isn't warping. It's like reality just deleted the parameters for a being." Rimuru's head tilted slightly. "I operate outside conventional frameworks. Dimensions you understand as laws are malleable to me." Banner's jaw tightened. "That's impossible." "Yes." Rimuru's reply dropped like stone. A pause hung in the air, heavy enough to feel. Strange's sigils flared with subtle pulses, sensing every micro-shift in Rimuru's essence. Cloak lifted slightly, ready, every spell partially formed, every contingency in motion. Carol Danvers hovered near the ceiling, stellar energy radiating, calculating, projecting threat vectors. "We are dealing with something insane," she muttered, voice tight with tension. "But at least they didn't destroy Manhattan." "That's notable," Stark said, lowering his visor slightly. "You could have leveled the city. Didn't. That matters." His HUD flickered as systems struggled to read Rimuru's presence. Null, error, anomaly. "Friday, how do we even scan this thing?" Friday's voice crackled through the room, digital and uneasy. "Sir, I'm experiencing multiple existential crises." Thor chuckled softly, the sound like rolling thunder. "It understands caution. That is rare." The sanctum's wards fled, responding to every arrival, every magical fluctuation. Rimuru remained still, calculating, golden eyes glinting with subtle awareness of every heroic figure in the room. Observation, evaluation, potential outcomes. And then the sky above Manhattan shimmered unnaturally, distant lights flickering. Something massive, ancient, and relentless was on a collision course with Earth. Time to impact. The sanctum pulsed with tension, every stone, every glyph, every artifact, humming in uneasy resonance. The distant flicker of lights across Manhattan warned of an anomaly approaching fast, something massive, ancient, a presence beyond mortal comprehension. Strange's golden sigils swirled faster, reading every micro-shift in Rimuru's energy, every fluctuation in the void surrounding them. Cloak of levitation rippled like a living entity, responding to threats before they materialized. Outside, the city trembled subtly. Shield drones repositioned automatically, sensors flickering as data fed through layers of satellites and advanced scanning systems. People moved unaware, smartphones capturing strange glows in the sky, brief flashes of light, nothing fully explained. But for those attuned to magic, the wrongness was undeniable. Rimuru observed calmly, golden eyes taking in every detail. Massive energy approaching, they noted, voice even, detached. Probability of catastrophic impact, high. Time to collision, 4 minutes. Thor's eyes narrowed, blue lightning crackling faintly around him. It is not subtle. The heavens themselves announce it. He stepped closer to the edge of the roof, scanning the horizon. His centuries of combat had honed senses that could detect disturbances most mortals never imagined. This, however, was different, far beyond his experience. Strange spoke rapidly, words forming intricate binding spells in the air. "We don't know if it is sentient or purely destructive. Every calculation shows it bypasses normal dimensional theory. If it strikes, could tear a hole through reality itself." Rimuru's head tilted slightly. "I can assist. Containment probability increases if I intervene." Tony Stark's armor glinted in the sunlight. "Hold on. Containment? You're talking about stopping something bigger than anything we've ever measured with physics, magic, or common sense. And you're calm as if it's just a math problem." "Observation is not emotion," Rimuru replied. "Calculation, outcome, mitigation." Scarlet energy flared around Wanda's fingers. "Whatever it is, the magic is wrong. It's not like Dormammu, not like any corruption we faced. It bends perception itself." Banner adjusted his glasses, jaw tight. "Dimensions aren't flexing, barriers aren't moving, space isn't warping. It's like reality itself doesn't exist in the way we understand. This is incomprehensible." Carol Danvers hovered near the ceiling, stellar energy radiating across her body. "We can't fight what we can't define, but we can try to protect civilians. Time is short." Rimuru analyzed the city below, probability matrices spinning invisibly through CL's calculations. Evacuation efficiency, low without intervention. Containment probability, moderate if coordinated with local magical infrastructure. Civilian risk, high. Strange nodded, voice steady. "Then we coordinate. Rimuru, I'll need your help to stabilize dimensional thresholds. Thor, Carol, Stark, shielding protocols and energy dispersal. Wanda, magical containment. Banner, support with readings and barrier reinforcement." The team moved with practiced efficiency. Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, glinted, charging with storm energy. Carol Danvers positioned herself above, stellar flares radiating outward, a shield for lower Manhattan. Wanda's hands traced arcs of scarlet, weaving containment sigils faster than any human could comprehend. Stark's HUD projected predictive impact zones and energy dispersal vectors. Banner monitored reality flux, adjusting protocols in real time. Rimuru floated centrally, golden eyes flicking between each hero, analyzing patterns, calculating optimal interventions. Time compressed. Every second mattered. The city trembled, faint cracks in probability forming like spiderwebs across unseen planes. Rimuru extended a hand toward the approaching cosmic anomaly, void energy rippling outward in response, bending the incoming force slightly. Strange's golden glyphs intertwined with Rimuru's void matrices, arcs of light and shadow weaving a temporary bulwark around New York. Impact in 60 seconds, Rimuru said, calm but precise. Then the first signs of collision appeared, shadows folding across the sky, air vibrating with raw, incomprehensible energy. Wards screamed, repelling and bending, artifacts quivering, as if aware of their imminent use. Strange's cloak lifted, moving autonomously to shield artifacts and allies. Thor braced, lightning striking the city in controlled arcs to dissipate energy. Wanda's hands traced sigils furiously, creating overlapping fields of containment. Carol pushed her stellar energy outward, a protective shell around zones of highest density. Stark's drones flared with counter-energy projections, scanning for points of weakness. Banner's readings spiked uncontrollably. Rimuru's golden eyes glimmered. Containment probability increasing, civilian impact decreasing, but the anomaly is adaptive. Time slowed further. The cosmic presence approached, a gargantuan mass of incomprehensible force, crushing probability itself as it moved. The sanctum thrummed in resistance, every ward and sigil reacting in anticipation of impact. The tension was palpable, the city below unaware of the cosmic ballet unfolding above. And then, just as the cosmic mass breached the final threshold above Manhattan, a sharp ripple of void energy emanated from Rimuru, bending the approaching entity's trajectory and revealing something within the anomaly itself that even Rimuru did not fully anticipate. The sky above Manhattan tore like wet paper. Void energy rippled outward in waves, distorting perception. Buildings twisted subtly, streets seemed to bend at impossible angles, and the air vibrated with frequencies humans couldn't perceive. Strange's glyphs glowed furiously, golden light weaving complex patterns that strained the boundaries of the sanctum's wards. Rimuru floated in the center, analyzing, calculating, bending probabilities around them to buy precious seconds. Impact in 30 seconds, Rimuru's voice cut through the tension, calm yet precise. Containment probability improving, collateral damage moderate unless adaptive measures taken. Thor's blue eyes narrowed, lightning arcing from Mjolnir, striking energy pockets in the incoming anomaly. It is massive beyond anything the 9 realms have encountered, he muttered, voice taut with awe and caution. Carol Danvers pushed her stellar energy outward, forming a shimmering protective dome over parts of Manhattan. We need to stabilize the anomaly's trajectory, or it'll tear the city apart. Her hands flared, stellar fire coalescing into controlled bursts of containment. Wanda's sigils danced, overlapping, interweaving, attempting to create a magical lattice to slow the entity's descent. Each attempt strained her, the wrongness of Rimuru's energy and the anomaly resonating, creating subtle feedback that tugged at reality. Banner's tablet spiked with readings. Strange, it's adapting. The energy signature, it's responding to our interventions in real time. Every displacement we try, it counteracts, even anticipates. Strange's eyes flicked toward Rimuru, who nodded slightly. We can assist together. Probability matrices indicate a combined effort increases success exponentially. Golden light from Strange's glyphs intertwined with Rimuru's void energy, bending the approaching entity's trajectory. The anomaly warped, reshaping around them, but a new detail emerged, a substructure within the mass, something alive, aware, intelligent. "Something inside it," Carol whispered, shielding herself from sudden ripples in energy. Thor's hammer thrummed, sensing the internal presence. A core, not just force but consciousness, a being within the storm. Time contracted. Seconds became moments stretched into eternity. The anomaly adjusted, void ripples now lancing outward, tearing at probability itself. Manhattan's streets below began to fracture subtly, vehicles and people moving as if caught in subtle gravitational distortions. Shield drones scrambled to compensate, energy shields flickering. "Containment field failing," Wanda called, voice tight. "It's too adaptive." Rimuru's eyes glimmered with golden intensity. Adjustment initiated, synchronizing with all available energy vectors, probability recalculating. The void energy extended outward, interfacing with Strange's glyphs, Thor's lightning, Carol's stellar bursts, Wanda's magical lattice, and Stark's repulsor arrays. The anomaly shuddered, trajectory bending slightly, but the core within fought back, creating miniature void rifts, each pulsing with its own wrongness. Strange's cloak flared, moving autonomously to reinforce wards, protect artifacts, and shield the team. Rimuru extended a hand toward the anomaly, golden void spiraling outward, engaging the entity's core. The space between them shimmered violently, as if reality itself protested. Banner's voice came urgent, almost panicked. "Energy fluctuations are exceeding all measured parameters. If this keeps escalating, the city could be obliterated before we stabilize it." Rimuru's calm voice sliced through the tension. "Probability matrices indicate solution exists, requires coordinated, instantaneous adaptation." Golden eyes focused, void energy pulsing with subtle, perfect precision. Every attack, every counter, every pulse of energy was now an algorithm in motion, bending and redirecting the anomaly's destructive force while minimizing collateral damage. Seconds ticked by. Manhattan trembled, wards screamed, shields flared, reality warped, but the anomaly's trajectory was gradually redirected, the core resisting but unable to fully escape the combined precision of Rimuru and the Avengers' intervention. Finally, with a violent ripple, the anomaly stalled inches above the city, suspended in a precarious balance. The wrongness still radiated, perceptible to anyone with magical sensitivity, but immediate destruction was prevented. Manhattan's streets below were intact, buildings trembling but standing, the sanctum's wards flared, stabilizing. Thor exhaled, lowering Mjolnir. "By the All-Father, it lives, yet it yields for now." Carol floated, energy dimming slightly. That was too close. Whatever that was, it wasn't just a force of nature, it's intelligent. Strange's eyes stayed on Rimuru, a mix of awe, caution, and calculation. "You managed something that should have been impossible. Your methods, adaptive, beyond anything I've measured." Rimuru's golden eyes met his. "It is a matter of probability, calculation, and mitigation. No destruction necessary if choice aligns with preservation." Wanda lowered her hands slowly, fingers trembling. "I don't even know what to call that. It hurt to perceive." Stark removed his helmet, jaw tight. "And that's why I hate this universe sometimes. You just cannot plan for beings like this." Banner adjusted his glasses, murmuring, "I need to recalibrate everything I know about dimensional theory." Even as Manhattan stabilized, the anomaly's core pulsed faintly, unseen to ordinary eyes. And in the void of space above Earth, a presence stirred, massive, ancient, and watching, calculating its next move. Rimuru's intervention bought time, but the universe itself was about to respond. The night above Manhattan was unnaturally still and almost expectant. Rimuru floated above the city, golden eyes scanning, calculating, observing the after-effects of the cosmic anomaly they had just stabilized. The sanctum below thrummed with residual energy, artifacts pulsing faintly as if measuring the new variable introduced into the city's reality. Strange's hands hovered mid-air, fingers twitching, glyphs still faintly glowing, prepared for another wave. But Rimuru felt it first, a tremor in probability, subtle but unmistakable. Across the fabric of space something stirred, something ancient, far beyond mortal comprehension. Not a force, not a mass, but consciousness, vast and patient, observing the anomaly and everything involved in its mitigation. Analysis complete, Rimuru murmured to CL. The system processing infinite variables in milliseconds. Presence, massive, intelligent, and aware of intervention. Probability of conflict with Earth, increasing. Probability of cooperation, unknown. Immediate action, monitoring, and low-profile reconnaissance recommended. Strange, noticing the subtle tension in the air, adjusted his stance. I feel it too. It's not hostile yet, but its observation is invasive, testing the limits of our wards, our thresholds, our capacity for response. His hands formed delicate patterns in mid-air, weaving protective sigils into the night, subtle but incredibly potent. Above the city, a ripple in the void shimmered, a distortion that bent light and probability. Thor's voice resonated from the sanctum's roof. The All-Father whispers of disturbances beyond even Asgardian comprehension. This presence, it watches like a sentinel, yet with intent not discerned. Lightning crackled faintly from Mjolnir, striking the distant clouds to illuminate the unnatural phenomenon. Carol Danvers hovered beside Rimuru, stellar energy flaring softly, her face tight with concern. I can feel it too. The anomaly wasn't just destructive. It was a beacon. Something's coming because of it. Something aware. Rimuru's golden gaze scanned the dimensional layers, perceiving structures in space that were normally imperceptible. Correct. The entity within the anomaly has attracted attention from a higher hierarchy. Monitoring reveals the probability of an escalation event within Earth's space-time frame. Imminent. Time to observable interaction, approximately 23 minutes. Banner adjusted his glasses, green light reflecting off the lenses. So let me get this straight. We just neutralized a massive anomaly and now a higher level cosmic presence is watching us. And we're supposed to, what? Wait? Wanda's hands flared faintly as she tested the residual magical signature left by the anomaly. It's wrong. Not evil, not dark, just wrong. A color of magic that shouldn't exist. And it's aware of everything Rimuru and Strange did. Strange's eyes narrowed, thinking, it's assessing our capacity, our strategy, our response. Any intervention now will be scrutinized and weighed. Every action is a variable in its calculations. Rimuru floated higher, golden void energy pulsating, blending with Strange's protective sigils. Correct. Probability suggests coordinated adaptation is required for any escalation mitigation. Prepare for immediate engagement if threshold is exceeded. Maintain protective measures across Manhattan and Sanctum perimeter. Above them, the first subtle effects of the cosmic presence became visible. A faint distortion in the night sky, bending starlight, a ripple in the quantum fabric, perceptible only to those attuned to multiple dimensions. It was patient, vast, and observing. Every micro-adjustment Rimuru or Strange made was noted, analyzed, anticipated. Suddenly, a new pulse radiated outward from the anomaly's residual core, faint but deliberate. Rimuru's golden eyes narrowed. New variable detected. It is initiating minor distortions in dimensional probability, likely a probe or test of Earth's defenses. Thor's voice thundered. Then we prepare. Let it learn we are not without skill or might, but caution careful caution. Carol flared her stellar energy outward in a controlled dome, and wonder layered magical latticeworks across critical zones of Manhattan. Rimuru extended their hands, manipulating probability flows, bending dimensional vectors to stabilize the city preemptively. Strange's glyphs intertwined seamlessly, a blend of arcane mastery and adaptive countermeasure. Probability matrices updated, Rimuru stated, voice calm. Containment probability of escalation event within immediate vicinity, 89.7%. Civilian risk, minimal. But the hierarchy above is aware. They may act in unpredictable ways. Banner muttered, eyes scanning rapidly. I swear, my entire understanding of physics just filed for retirement. The sanctum quivered slightly, sensing the cosmic level attention, its consciousness threading through wards and artifacts, analyzing Rimuru, Strange, and the Avengers. Every protective measure was accounted for, every potential breach noted. And then, from the void above, a shadow larger than any building unfolded, stretching across the sky. Its presence alone pressed against reality, bending probability itself. Rimuru and the heroes felt it before it fully manifested. A cosmic entity was descending toward Earth, and this time, its intent was no longer uncertain. The shadow above Manhattan stretched across the horizon, blotting out stars and bending the ambient light into unnatural hues. Every step, every pulse of this descending entity pressed against the rules of physics, magic, and perception. Rimuru's golden eyes glimmered with calculation, CL running trillions of probability vectors per second. Direct approach detected. Energy signature confirms conscious maneuvering. Probability of collision with Sanctum, 74.6%. Immediate mitigation required. Strange's hands moved rapidly, weaving glyphs faster than the eye could follow. Prepare all defensive protocols. This is no longer a test. This is a potential engagement. The cloak of levitation flared wider, moving autonomously to reinforce wards and shield artifacts. Thor's voice rumbled like thunder from above. The heavens have never presented such a presence. It is vast, ancient, and its awareness rivals the All-Father's own perception. Lightning crackled from Mjolnir, striking pockets of displaced energy in the approaching mass, attempting to stabilize the environment below. Carol Danvers hovered, stellar fire radiating outward, forming a protective dome around lower Manhattan. We're going to need precision like we've never used before. That thing isn't just big, it's aware, and it adapts. Wanda's scarlet sigils twisted violently as she attempted to create containment fields. Each pulse of magic met with subtle countermeasures from the descending entity, bending and folding in ways she had never experienced. It's thinking with the energy itself. It's not attacking, but it's probing. Banner adjusted readings frantically. I've never seen dimensional barriers flex like this. It's like the laws of reality itself are suggestions, not rules. Rimuru's golden eyes focused. Coordinate all interventions. Probability matrices indicate synchronized action between magical, technological, and void energies will yield the highest chance of successful mitigation. Strange nodded, weaving glyphs in precise synchronization with Rimuru's void energy. The two forces combined, a mixture of arcane mastery and extra-dimensional control, creating a lattice across the sky that stretched toward the descending entity. Suddenly, a ripple passed through Manhattan. Cars shifted subtly on streets, buildings flexed as if breathing, air vibrating with a frequency humans couldn't perceive. The entity above responded instantly, a series of subtle pulses emanating from its core, probing the combined defenses. Thor's gaze sharpened. It tests us, like a predator assessing prey, yet with intelligence beyond comprehension. Carol's stellar dome flared brighter, energy pushing against the probing pulses, keeping the city intact. Wanda's lattice worked in tandem, creating an overlapping shield of magic and probability. Rimuru's hands moved in tandem, void energy weaving around the anomaly's probing attempts, bending vectors to divert destructive potential. Strange observed the entity's reactions, realizing its consciousness was nested within layers of energy, the core adapting, anticipating, responding instantaneously to every defensive measure. This is no ordinary being. Its cognition is interwoven with its form. Every movement is a calculation, every pulse a response to our own probability manipulations. Suddenly, a shard of void energy descended toward the sanctum, ripping a swath through reality itself. Rimuru extended a hand, golden void spiraling outward, halting the shard mid-air. The entity's probe had encountered direct resistance, and for the first time Rimuru detected curiosity, a response within the anomaly's consciousness. Observation confirmed that the entity is aware of intervention, probability of escalation increasing, Rimuru stated. Thor's eyes glowed faintly blue. By the All-Father, it notices, it understands. This is a mind unlike any I have faced. Carol's dome held, but energy flares licked dangerously close to containment limits. Wanda's lattice pulsed violently, feedback threatening to destabilize the field. Banner's readings spiked uncontrollably, the quantum parameters of Manhattan's space-time being stretched by the entity's awareness. Stranger's voice cut through the chaos. Rimuru, we need to communicate. If this entity is intelligent, we must attempt diplomacy through energy resonance. Treat its consciousness as negotiable. Rimuru's golden eyes flickered, understanding. Probability matrices suggest communication may reduce destructive potential by 63.8%, initiating resonance protocol. Void energy pulsed outward, interfacing with the anomaly's internal core, reaching into its consciousness without aggression, a gesture of observation and parity rather than dominance. The shadow above trembled subtly. Energy pulses became irregular, hesitant. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the entity paused, recognizing the connection Rimuru offered. Stranger's glyphs intertwined, amplifying the resonance, while Thor, Carol, and Wanda maintained containment energy and magic flowing in synchronized harmony. Banner muttered, eyes wide. I think it's considering us, considering Rimuru. The pulse of energy from the anomaly shifted, a soft ripple, not destructive but perceptive. Rimuru recalculated instantaneously, adapting to the anomaly's response. Engagement altered, threat level temporarily reduced, probability of continued observation high, recommendation maintain containment and observation, do not provoke. Strange exhaled slowly, tension easing slightly. It's not hostile for now, but it's watching everything, every action, every calculation. One misstep and we could be dealing with a reality-level event. As Manhattan stabilized under their combined control, Rimuru's calculations detected a secondary signal within the anomaly, subtle, intelligent, and unexpectedly familiar. A presence that might know Rimuru personally, a variable that could change everything. The air above Manhattan quivered as the secondary signal pulsed through the void, faint but unmistakable. While Rimuru's golden eyes narrowed, CL had identified it instantly. Intelligence, consciousness, and energy signature eerily familiar. Probability matrices calculated hundreds of thousands of potential origins, but only one matched Rimuru's internal database. It's connected, Rimuru said quietly. Probability of prior interaction, 97.6%. Likely origin, alternate dimensional echo of my own void essence. Unknown intent. Stranger's eyes sharpened. A reflection? Another version of you? His hands moved rapidly, forming protective glyphs. That explains why the anomaly's core reacted so deliberately. It's no longer just testing Earth, it recognizes you. Thor's hammer thrummed at his side. Then it is not only intelligent but sentient, and tied to one who stands among us, a dangerous combination. Above, the shadow pulsed again, this time a fragment of its core separated, a smaller void shard detaching and spiraling toward the city. Its trajectory was calculated, controlled. Unlike the earlier probes, Rimuru reacted instantly, golden void energy coalescing into a barrier around the shard. The anomaly pulsed in response, almost like a heartbeat of recognition, as if it understood Rimuru's action. Carol Danvers hovered closer, stellar flares forming defensive walls around critical sectors of Manhattan. It's adaptive, but it's watching Rimuru more than the city, the variable we didn't predict. Its focus is personal. Wanda's hands glowed scarlet, fingers tracing intricate sigils in the air, reinforcing containment with probability-weaving magic. It's learning. Every action we take, every intervention is being recorded, mirrored, and calculated. This isn't just a test, it's preparation. Banner muttered, adjusting his glasses frantically. Alternate dimensional echoes. We're seriously dealing with a multi-layered anomaly here. Earth-level physics, magic, and now void intelligence all colliding? I don't even know how to model this. Strange's golden glyphs pulsed furiously. If it is linked to Rimuru, then diplomacy may be our only option. Aggression would trigger unpredictable responses, potentially catastrophic. Rimuru extended their hand toward the descending shard. Golden void energy pulsed outward, weaving probabilities with precision. The shard hesitated, its path wobbling ever so slightly, a subtle acknowledgement. The main entity above pulsed in rhythm, almost like a heartbeat responding to Rimuru's gesture. Thor gritted his teeth. By the All-Father? It understands communication, but it is testing your will, your presence, your essence. Carol glanced at Rimuru. Do you know it? Rimuru's gaze remained steady. It is a variant of me, not hostile inherently. Its behavior is an extrapolation of my own potential, untempered by context. Unknown whether malice or purpose guides it. Banner frowned. So, essentially, you're facing yourself in some weird cosmic form, and the rest of us are collateral? Essentially, Rimuru replied calmly. Probability matrices suggest cooperation is possible. Engagement must be subtle, non-aggressive, and continuous. One misalignment could escalate into reality destabilization. Strange interlaced his hands with Rimuru's void energy pulses, forming a synchronized resonance. Then we stabilize, adapt, and observe. Every moment counts. The city, the sanctum, the Avengers, we are all variables in this system. The secondary presence pulsed again, sending a subtle shockwave through Manhattan. Cars rattled, buildings shivered, and the air hummed with impossible frequencies. The entity, this echo, was testing, observing, understanding. Its intelligence was calculated, patient, and unnervingly precise. Carol raised her hands. We need to contain the anomaly's impact radius until we can negotiate, or it could escalate. Wanda's lattice flared brightly, synchronized with Rimuru's void pulses and Strange's glyphs, weaving a containment field that stabilized critical zones. Banner muttered equations to himself, integrating quantum mechanics with probability vectors, trying to predict the echo's next move. The fragment shard paused mid-air, hovering with an unnatural grace, and Rimuru extended a hand again. The golden energy wrapped around the shard like a ribbon of light, resonating with its consciousness. The main entity above reacted, subtle pulses, rhythmic and almost approving. Strange's voice was measured but tense. It acknowledges you. That is the first step toward engagement without catastrophe. Rimuru's eyes narrowed slightly, golden void flaring. Correct. Observation suggests cooperation probability increased by 12.4%. Must maintain subtle balance. Cannot provoke. Cannot dominate. Probability matrices recalculated continuously. Thor exhaled, lightning crackling faintly. Then we wait, watch, and prepare. For now it is a puzzle, one that could rewrite the rules of engagement with cosmic intelligence. Manhattan breathed beneath the synchronized efforts of Rimuru and the Avengers, but the secondary presence pulsed again, this time stronger, sending subtle tendrils into the probability matrix itself. Rimuru realized instantly this was no longer a mere encounter. It was the first stage of a confrontation that could challenge the very fabric of reality itself. The pulse from the secondary presence rippled through Manhattan like an invisible tide, subtle at first, then more pronounced. Traffic signals flickered erratically, elevators stalled between floors, and a low hum vibrated in the air, a frequency beyond normal perception. Rimuru's golden eyes narrowed, analyzing, predicting, adapting. CL's probability matrices spun wildly, recalculating thousands of contingencies per second. Disturbances increasing, Rimuru stated calmly. Probability of structural destabilization within critical zones, 28.9%. Probability of civilian exposure, rising unless containment reinforced. Strange's hands moved faster than thought, weaving advanced sigils into the air, layered defenses already stretching across the city. It's probing the limits. Every action we take, every spell cast, is being observed, assessed, and factored into its calculations. Thor's eyes glowed blue, lightning crackling faintly across Mjolnir. It is intelligent, but it tests patience as well. We cannot underestimate it. Every hesitation, every misstep will be catalogued. Carol Danvers adjusted her stellar dome, energy radiating outward in precise waves. It's playing with probability itself, bending minor events to test our reactions. Every civilian, every energy flow, every temporal anomaly, it's a puzzle we must solve simultaneously. Wanda's scarlet sigils pulsed violently, interlacing with Rimuru's void energy and Strange's glyphs. The combination stabilized several critical areas but created feedback loops elsewhere. Buildings flexed as if alive, streets rippled like water, and pedestrians walked oblivious to the reality, bending subtly around them. Banner muttered, overwhelmed by the numbers. I don't even know what to call this. Not physics, not magic. It's a new system altogether. Trying to model it with our tools is insane. Rimuru's golden glow intensified. Observation. Secondary presence is no longer testing. Probability matrices suggest it is beginning strategic manipulation. This is an escalation phase, must adapt containment and diplomacy simultaneously. Strange's fingers moved with precision, weaving complex counter-resonant sigils. We stabilize, we observe, and we interface. If it escalates, we must act preemptively, but carefully. Aggression could collapse probability frameworks, destabilizing entire city blocks, or worse. Thor's voice thundered. The heavens themselves are watching this encounter. We are but variables in a higher calculus. And yet our actions may determine outcomes beyond our comprehension. Carol interjected, energy flaring. Then we act decisively but in unison. Rimuru, coordinate probability. Wanda, stabilize magic. Strange, reinforce the wards. Banner, monitor quantum fluctuations. The secondary presence responded. Tendrils of energy wove through the dimensional lattice, probing, twisting, testing the bounds of Rimuru's coordination. Golden void pulses flared, colliding with the entity's tendrils. Sparks of reality bent, Floating debris shimmered in midair, and the hum of destabilized probability resonated like a faint drumbeat across the city. Rimuru's voice remained calm. Engagement matrix established. Defensive probability at 92.6%. Escalation management active. Coordination with allies critical for stability. Must maintain subtle dominance without provocation. Strange's hands pulsed in time with Rimuru's energy. It's responding to harmony. Our combined fields are influencing its calculations. It recognizes coordination as intelligence, not aggression. Wanda nodded, tightening her sigils. It's learning from us, yes, but it's adapting faster than I can anticipate. We have to stay ahead, or the consequences could be catastrophic. Banner adjusted his tablet frantically. Quantum feedback loops are already forming. This isn't just Manhattan physics anymore. We are dealing with probability structures that redefine cause and effect. Thor's eyes narrowed. Then we hold and observe, test the limits of our synergy, for it is our greatest weapon now. Suddenly a pulse erupted from the secondary presence, stronger than before. Buildings flexed violently, cars lifted slightly off the ground, and the streets below shimmered like liquid. Rimuru extended both hands, golden void flaring outward, stabilizing the city's probability lattice. The entity responded instantly, subtle but deliberate. Its tendrils now moved in patterns familiar to Rimuru, almost communicating through energy and probability. Strange's glyphs intertwined, reinforcing the containment with precise resonance. Thor's lightning flared in response. Carol's stellar dome intensified. Wanda's sigils danced across multiple layers of reality, and Banner's calculations adjusted on the fly. The city's energy stabilized, but the tension remained. Rimuru's eyes flickered, analyzing. Secondary presence is adapting strategy. Probability of escalation remains moderate, but rising. Critical action required. Engagement beyond observation imminent. Across the skyline, the secondary presence pulsed once more, sending a massive wave of altered probability toward Manhattan. Rimuru realized instantly this was no longer a test. The entity was preparing for direct interaction, and the next moments would determine not just the city's fate, but the very structure of reality itself. The skyline trembled as the secondary presence descended, a rippling void of energy stretching across Manhattan, bending space and time in ways no mortal mind could comprehend. Rimuru's golden eyes flared, analyzing every vector, every pulse, every infinitesimal probability. CL's calculations streamed in real time. Probability of full-scale structural collapse, 46.2%. Civilian exposure, 12.7%. Escalation into cosmic alert, 88.9%. Strange's hands moved like lightning, weaving glyphs at impossible speed. Containment must hold, every moment counts. His golden sigils interlaced with Rimuru's void energy, forming a synchronized lattice of arcane and extra-dimensional resonance. Thor roared, lightning coursing along Mjolnir, striking pockets of destabilized energy. We face not mere strength, but intellect. Every strike, every pulse of energy is a calculation. Carol Danvers' stellar dome flared, pushing against reality itself to stabilize entire blocks. We can't let it test the city any longer. It's adapting too fast. Wanda's scarlet sigils braided across the streets, reinforcing probability and reality's fabric. It's thinking, learning, adapting. It's almost sentient. We must anticipate, not react. Banner's tablet beeped frantically, quantum vectors dancing out of control. It's not following classical rules anymore. We're in uncharted territory. The entity is rewriting cause and effect as it interacts with our defenses. Rimuru extended both hands. Golden void spirals erupted outward, colliding with the tendrils of the secondary presence. Energy rippled across the city, streets bending like liquid, glass shimmering mid-air. The entity paused, analyzing Rimuru's every move, responding with subtle counterpulses. This is more than a test, Rimuru said softly. It's a calculation of our intentions, a challenge to our presence, our coordination, our ethics. The secondary presence pulsed violently, tendrils stretching outward to probe the city's defenses. Rimuru's void flared, countering each probe. Strange's glyphs synchronized perfectly, amplifying the containment lattice. Thor struck Mjolnir into the air, channeling divine lightning into the energy field, reinforcing structural stability. Carol and Wanda coordinated in perfect harmony, weaving magic and cosmic energy to stabilize critical zones. Banner's calculations adapted instantly, quantum feedback modulating the resonance of every pulse. The entity's tendrils paused mid-strike, golden recognition flaring as it aligned with Rimuru's energy signature. Rimuru extended a hand, golden void energy forming a bridge of consciousness toward the entity. Slowly, deliberately, the anomaly mirrored the motion, a dance of mind and energy. Strange's voice was calm but tense. It's responding, diplomacy through resonance. Your consciousness is being read, understood, mirrored. Maintain the connection. Thor's eyes glowed blue, thunder rolling softly. This is beyond combat. We face intellect, strategy, and calculation intertwined with raw power. Carol flared her stellar energy outward. We hold it steady, we guide, not attack. One wrong move and Manhattan collapses into probability chaos. Wanda's sigils entwined with Rimuru's void energy, forming a feedback loop that stabilized the secondary presence's probes. Banner's quantum matrices adjusted, synchronizing with Rimuru's probability threads. The entity pulsed in recognition, tendrils coiling and retracting slightly, testing Rimuru's patience and control. Rimuru met its golden gaze directly. We will not harm, but we will not let destruction continue. A massive pulse radiated from the secondary presence, a wave of energy that threatened to unravel Manhattan's very fabric. Rimuru extended all void energy, amplified by Strange's glyphs, Thor's lightning, Carol's stellar dome, and Wanda's magic. A massive resonance field enveloped the city, stabilizing reality as the secondary presence slowly withdrew, responding to the non-aggressive but firm coordination. Strange exhaled slowly. It's observing now, not attacking. Cooperation probability has increased dramatically. Thor lowered Mjolnir slightly. By the All-Father, it respects strength tempered with wisdom. We have survived the trial for now. Carol Danvers hovered, energy still radiating, scanning for residual anomalies. It's still there, but paused, not hostile. Banner adjusted his tablet, relief creeping into his voice. Probability matrices stabilize. Manhattan is intact. The secondary presence is cautious, observing, not engaging further, for now. Rimuru's golden eyes narrowed, calculating. Observation complete. Engagement successful without escalation. Secondary presence remains aware. Probability of cooperation, 67.8%. Further interaction required to determine ultimate intent. Wanda finally exhaled, lowering her hands. It's waiting, watching, calculating like we're variables in its experiment. Strange nodded. Then we maintain observation. Prepare contingency plans. This is far from over. Whatever it is, it's only begun to reveal its potential. Far above, beyond the perception of heroes and mortals alike, the secondary presence pulsed once more. Within its golden core, a familiar void signature shimmered, one that mirrored Rimuru perfectly. And somewhere in the multiverse, other reflections stirred, aware that the balance of reality itself had been challenged and that the true trial was just beginning. The city below was calm, but the skies above Manhattan betrayed the truth. Faint rips in the dimensional fabric shimmered like cracks in glass, barely visible to normal eyes, but glaringly obvious to Rimuru. CL flagged thousands of probability vectors twisting unnaturally. Something had responded to the secondary presence, an echo in the multiverse. Rimuru's golden eyes flared, scanning the new signals. Probability of multiversal intrusion, 82.3%. Observed entity, unknown, intelligence high, energy signature mirrors secondary presence, but differs in fundamental frequency. Strange, standing beside Rimuru, frowned. Another version of it? How many are we talking about? Unknown, Rimuru replied. But the probability of escalation increases exponentially with each additional reflection. We cannot predict their coordination. Each entity could have independent intent. Thor's hammer thrummed in response to the disturbances. So, the challenge grows, not just here, but across all realities that intersect this point. Carol Danvers' energy flared around her fists. Then we prepare for multiple vectors. Every escape route, every safe zone, every probability thread must be reinforced. Wanda's scarlet magic rippled outward. The multiverse is watching. Every layer of reality resonates with these intrusions. One wrong action, and the disruption could cascade across countless worlds. Banner tapped rapidly on a quantum device. It's not just Earth physics anymore. These intrusions bend cause and effect. Probability itself is unstable. We could trigger chain reactions without even knowing it. Rimuru's eyes narrowed. Observation. Multiversal entities are aware of secondary presence's interaction with Earth. They are calculating intent, potential threats, and vulnerabilities. Immediate engagement would be catastrophic. A faint pulse illuminated the night sky, a ripple moving through Manhattan and stretching far beyond, detectable only by cosmic-level perception. Rimuru extended golden void energy outward, forming a resonant shield. The multiversal echo responded, a mirror of the secondary presence, but larger, more complex, intelligence unmistakably refined. Strange's glyphs pulsed with golden light, weaving through void threads. This is bigger than anything we've faced. Each entity isn't just strong, they are analytical, adaptive, and potentially cooperative or hostile, depending on how we interact. Thor's eyes glowed with divine intensity. Then we coordinate not just with our allies, but across realities if necessary. This is no longer a single battlefield. This is a multiversal chessboard. Rimuru's pulse synchronized with Strange's glyphs, Wanda's magic, Thor's lightning, and Carol's stellar dome. Engagement matrix defensive. Probability of containment without destruction, 73.4%. We must stabilize Earth first, then monitor multiversal signals for intent. Above the city, the primary multiversal echo pulsed again. A fragment separated and descended, similar to the prior secondary presence, but this one was larger, its energy more concentrated, reality bending visibly around it. Rimuru's golden void flared outward, intercepting the fragment mid-air. It's testing us again, Rimuru said, not for harm, but for understanding. Its calculations, they mirror mine, yet differ subtly. Intent cannot yet be defined as hostile or friendly. Strange nodded. Observation first, intervention if required. One misstep and multiple realities could unravel. Carol Danvers hovered, stellar energy enveloping Manhattan. I can maintain the dome, but we'll need everyone working in perfect synchronization. The fragment is too large to ignore. Wanda's sigils flared like scarlet fire. Then we stabilize, synchronize, and anticipate. We fight not with force, but with intelligence. Thor struck Mjolnir into the ground. The first step is to hold the line. The multiverse observes, and we must not falter. Rimuru extended hands, golden void energy spiraling outward in harmonic resonance. The fragment halted, suspended mid-air, its consciousness probing, calculating, testing the very boundaries of Rimuru's strategy. Manhattan trembled subtly, but the city held, stabilized by combined power and precise probability management. Across the rippling multiverse, other echoes stirred, mirrors, fragments, and potential allies or enemies. Rimuru realized that Earth was only the first battlefield. The real engagement would stretch beyond a single reality, forcing cooperation and confrontation on a scale beyond imagination. The night sky over Manhattan fractured again, faint lines of energy branching like spiderwebs across reality. Rimuru's golden eyes tracked each new pulse, each anomaly moving in patterns that defied normal probability. CL flagged dozens of multiversal echoes emerging simultaneously, each one a unique permutation of the secondary presence, but all unnervingly intelligent, adaptive, and unpredictable. Strange's hands weaved rapidly, glyphs layering over the city's defenses. Multiple vectors, multiple intents. We need containment zones now. If these fragments interact incorrectly, Manhattan could collapse into a pocket dimension. Thor's Mjolnir crackled as he surveyed the skies. By the All-Father, these are not mere attacks. They calculate, adapt, and test. Each one measures our will, our capacity to cooperate, and our limits. Carol Danvers's stellar dome expanded, covering several city blocks. I can maintain this dome, but only if everyone syncs their energy and spells precisely. Any deviation and the feedback will destabilize the entire lattice. Wanda's scarlet sigils intertwined with Rimuru's void energy, forming a network of stabilization threads across multiple reality layers. Observation confirms these echoes are learning from our responses. They are testing thresholds of ethics, strategy, and energy output simultaneously. Banner adjusted his tablet frantically. This is no longer just probability manipulation, it's adaptive causality. The fragments are rewriting possible outcomes as we react. Every move we make feeds their calculations. Rimuru's golden void flared, spiraling outward in controlled bursts. Observation, they are probing the city's energy nodes. Probability of local collapse if containment fails, 54.7%. Probability of multiversal escalation if engagement fails, 89.3%. Recommendation, coordinated response with minimal aggression. The first fragment descended sharply, golden tendrils probing toward the city. Rimuru mirrored its motions with void energy, creating a harmonic resonance that countered its destabilizing pulse. The fragment paused mid-air, responding as though aware of Rimuru's synchronization. Strange's voice cut through the tense hum. We hold it without aggression. Understand it first. These are not mindless attackers. They are testing intelligence and intent. Thor struck Mjolnir into the street below, channeling divine lightning into the lattice. The fragment recoiled slightly, then reformed in a pattern Rimuru hadn't anticipated. Golden pulses flashed in response to Thor's lightning, as though the fragment was learning from each strike. Carol flared her stellar energy outward. Rimuru, we can maintain stability temporarily, but these fragments are multiplying in both number and intelligence. We need a strategy beyond just holding them. Wanda's hands glowed brighter, sigils wrapping around fragments, stabilizing probability vectors. We integrate, we let them learn from cooperation, not confrontation. If we force them, we destabilize everything. Banner's tablet beeped frenetically. Quantum matrices suggest a cascading failure if even a single fragment is mishandled. Probability of containment drops to 38% if synchronization fails. Rimuru's eyes narrowed. Then we synchronize fully. Energy, magic, probability, and cognition combined into a single resonance matrix. The fragments pulsed, sensing Rimuru's intentions. Slowly, cautiously, they mirrored the lattice, creating a tense balance over Manhattan. Traffic lights flickered back to normal, elevators resumed motion, and the city's infrastructure held, stabilized by a delicate dance of multiversal forces. Strange exhaled. This is the edge of understanding. Every action, every reaction is being catalogued across infinite variables. One mistake could ripple across realities. Thor lowered Mjolnir slightly. Patience and precision, that is the weapon we wield. Let them calculate. Let them see our intentions. Carol Danvers hovered, radiant energy forming shields over key zones. We hold, but this is only temporary. More fragments will emerge, more calculations, more tests. The multiverse itself watches our every move. Rimuru extended both hands. Golden void spirals interlaced with scarlet and stellar energy, forming a resonance bridge between the fragments and the heroes. The city trembled, but stability persisted. A distant pulse rippled through the multiverse, stronger than any fragment yet. Rimuru's golden eyes detected the primary consciousness of the multiversal entity preparing to enter Manhattan. Its arrival would force a confrontation across multiple realities simultaneously, challenging not only Earth's heroes, but the very concept of synchronized defense. The night sky tore open above Manhattan like a wound in reality, jagged edges glowing with golden light that seemed to hum with sentience. Rimuru's golden eyes tracked the approaching anomaly, a primary multiversal entity, orders of magnitude more complex than the fragments they'd been containing. CL flagged every pulse, every fluctuation in probability, every shift in space-time fabric. Strange's hands moved in precise patterns, weaving golden glyphs that interacted with Rimuru's void resonance. This is unlike anything we've faced. Every law of physics, every rule of magic, it's rewriting them as it approaches. Thor's hammer glowed with divine energy. The All-Father forewarned of challenges beyond comprehension, but even I did not expect this magnitude. Brace yourselves. Carol Danvers' stellar dome expanded citywide, streaks of cosmic energy radiating outward. Every building, every street, every life must be protected. We hold at all costs. Wanda's scarlet magic surged, intertwining with Rimuru's void, forming a multi-layered resonance lattice designed to stabilize probability vectors across the city. It's not just an attack, it's an evaluation. Every action we take is being measured, analyzed, mirrored. Banner's quantum tablet beeped endlessly. I'm tracking shifts in causality. Manhattan's probability structure is bending, almost fracturing. One wrong reaction and the multiverse itself could destabilize. Rimuru extended both hands, golden void spirals radiating outward, connecting with each fragment still hovering around the city. The primary entity slowed, analyzing the resonance, its consciousness pulsing in waves that stretched across dimensions. Strange's voice cut sharply through the hum of energy. We do not strike first. Observation, understanding, and synchronization. Any aggression will trigger a catastrophic cascade. Thor roared, lightning crackling across the sky. By Odin's might, it tests us. Every move is a calculation. Every intention is examined. We respond in harmony, not with mere force. The primary entity pulsed again, and a wave of energy shot outward, sweeping the city. Streets buckled, glass shattered mid-air, and the resonance lattice flickered under the strain. Rimuru mirrored the wave, golden energy spiraling, colliding with the entity's pulse, creating a tense standoff. Carol Danvers launched herself into the air, stellar energy amplifying Rimuru's counterbalance. It's testing the limits. Probability is our battlefield, not brute strength. Wanda's hands danced, scarlet sigils expanding, weaving through every block of the city. Each pulse, each strike, it's learning. It wants to understand, not just destroy, yet. Thor struck Mjolnir into the ground in rhythm with the pulses, channeling divine energy through the lattice. Coordination is our weapon, precision is our shield. Banner adjusted quantum vectors on the tablet. The lattice is stabilizing, barely. If the primary entity increases output just slightly, the city, and possibly the entire multiverse, is at risk. Rimuru's golden eyes locked on the primary entity. Observation. Consciousness is fully aware of our collective intentions. Probability of escalation without containment, 92.1%. Stabilization possible only through cooperative resonance with fragments and allied defenders. The primary entity pulsed again, golden light rippling outward in vast arcs. The fragments aligned, mirroring Rimuru's control. Manhattan trembled, yet the resonance lattice held, a perfect harmony of magic, science, and extra-dimensional energy. Strange spoke calmly, almost reverently. This is diplomacy through power. Every action is a message. Every restraint is a signal. We must maintain the equilibrium. The primary entity paused mid-air, analyzing Rimuru, the fragments, and the combined efforts of Earth's defenders. Its golden pulse slowed, and a subtle echo of recognition passed through the city. Rimuru's voice carried softly, yet firm. We will not harm, we will not escalate, but we will protect this reality and all others connected through it. The entity pulsed once more, a resonant, golden heartbeat, and then, slowly, it hovered, observation taking precedence over aggression. Manhattan remained intact, trembling but whole. Carol exhaled, lowering her energy slightly. It's holding, not hostile, yet. But it's aware, calculating. Thor's eyes glowed faintly blue. This is the test, not a battle, a measure of intent, coordination, and wisdom. Wanda finally relaxed her sigils, though her eyes remained sharp. We've survived the first confrontation, but it's only observing. The real challenge is understanding why it came and what it wants. Banner lowered his tablet. Probability matrices indicate stability for now, but this is temporary. Any misstep, and it's chaos across multiple realities. Strange exhaled slowly, glyphs fading but leaving residual protection. Then we maintain vigilance, observation and containment. Every action matters. The multiverse is watching, and we have passed the first measure. Above Manhattan, beyond perception, the primary multiversal entity's consciousness stirred. The fragments realigned, mirroring Rimuru's resonance perfectly. Somewhere in the multiverse, other entities took note, realizing a new force had emerged, one capable of challenging cosmic balance itself. The real battle across realities had only just begun. The multiverse trembled. Manhattan's skyline was no longer merely a city. It had become a nexus, a convergence point for overlapping realities. Fragments of other dimensions shimmered into existence, each one a distorted reflection of the city, some twisted, some pristine, all layered like a kaleidoscope of chaos. Rimuru's golden eyes tracked hundreds of simultaneous pulses, probability threads weaving through each reality. CL's calculations were near instantaneous, yet even it struggled to model the complexity. Strange's glyphs expanded outward, interacting with Wanda's sigils, Carol's stellar dome, and Thor's lightning, forming a resonance lattice spanning multiple planes. We've crossed the threshold, Strange said, voice calm but tense. This is no longer defensive, it's a multi-dimensional engagement. In each fragment, each echo is testing us. One mistake and the cascade is irreversible. Thor struck Mjolnir into the ground, summoning divine storms across the cityscape. Let them come. By Odin, the All-Father, the battlefield is set. Carol's energy flared, forming stellar barriers around each dimensional crack. Every exit point, every potential breach, sealed. We contain while we learn. Coordination is survival. Wonder's scarlet magic intertwined with Rimuru's golden void energy. Observation confirms primary entity is monitoring not just us, but how our responses propagate across realities. Intent is still unclear, neutral perhaps, but probing our limits. Banner tapped at his quantum tablet with urgency. The lattice is under strain. Probability instability is at 68%. Dimensional feedback could create rifts in unrelated realities if we misstep. Rimuru extended arms, void spirals radiating outward, colliding with fragments in perfect harmonic resonance. The fragments paused, seemingly recognizing Rimuru's command as a stabilizing anchor. Manhattan became a heartbeat in a multiversal web, fragile but coherent. Suddenly, one fragment shifted violently, defying Rimuru's synchronization. Buildings trembled, glass shattering mid-air as reality warped around the anomaly. Carol surged forward, stellar energy enveloping the fragment. It's testing boundaries. Rimuru, we need direct stabilization. Rimuru responded instantly, golden void spirals expanding, connecting with Wonder's magic. A pulse radiated outward, countering the fragment's destabilization. Manhattan shivered, but remained intact. Strange's voice cut through the tension. Focus, coordination over force. Each movement feeds the entity's calculations. The lattice must remain harmonic. Thor roared, lightning crackling in rhythm with Rimuru's void. Every strike, every pulse, synchronized. This is a dance, not a duel. Wonder's hands glowed brighter, scarlet threads linking fragments to the primary entity's consciousness. They are learning from us, adapting in real time. We must teach cooperation, not conflict. Banner's tablet beeped frenetically. Probability matrices indicate cascading collapse if synchronization drops below 82%. Maintain resonance, or the entire city, and possibly connected realities, will fracture. The primary multiversal entity pulsed, its golden light radiating across all Manhattan layers. Fragments aligned, mimicking Rimuru's resonance. Its consciousness probed, testing the lattice, probing the hero's intentions. Strange's hands moved in perfect harmony with Rimuru's. Golden glyphs intertwined with scarlet sigils and stellar energy, forming a dynamic feedback loop that stabilized the city while absorbing the multiverse's chaotic signals. Carol Danvers hovered, energy blazing. We hold, but it's pushing limits. Every fragment, every echo is learning. This is not just defense. It's a test of strategy, ethics, and adaptability. Thor's blue eyes glimmered. The All-Father's wisdom guides us. Patience and coordination over brute force. Every movement a statement, every restraint a shield. Rimuru's voice was calm, steady. Observation. The primary entity is aware of our restraint. Probability of escalation decreases slightly as understanding grows. Manhattan remains stable. Engagement strategy. Maintain harmonic resonance. Continue observation. Respond only to destabilization. Banner's tablet chimed. Probability matrices stable for now, but additional fragments detected approaching from other dimensional axes. Next wave incoming in 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Rimuru's golden void pulsed in concentric waves. Prepare for synchronization with all incoming entities. Cooperative resonance is the only viable method of survival. Manhattan holds, but the next wave of multiversal fragments promises a confrontation unlike any before. The primary entity's patience is measured and its observation continues. The final engagement will test the limits of Rimuru and Earth's defenders, forcing alliances across realities and demanding choices that could reshape the multiverse itself. The sky above Manhattan had become unrecognizable, a kaleidoscope of overlapping realities, each fragment and echo shimmering with alien energy. The primary multiversal entity hovered at the epicenter, golden pulses radiating outward, each one testing, analyzing, calculating. Rimuru's golden eyes narrowed. Every vector, every probability, every ripple across the multiverse was feeding into this final, decisive engagement. Strange's hands moved in a complex dance of glyphs and sigils, weaving an intricate lattice of magic that stretched across both the city and the fragments of other realities. This is the climax. Each movement is critical. One misalignment and the resonance collapses, taking everything with it. Thor's lightning storm erupted, crackling through streets and sky alike, a rhythmic pulse that synchronized with Rimuru's void energy. By Odin, the moment has arrived. We strike not with force but with unity. Carol Danvers' stellar energy flared like a sunburst, expanding outward to cover Manhattan and the multiversal fractures. Every block, every energy node stabilized, but the pressure... It's unlike anything before. Brace yourselves. Wanda's scarlet magic intertwined with Rimuru's void, forming an unprecedented multiversal resonance lattice. Threads of energy connected the fragments, the primary entity, and the city itself. They are learning, they understand restraint and intent. But this will be the ultimate test of cooperation. Banner adjusted his quantum tablet. Probability matrices are at 91% strain. Any misstep and multiversal collapse becomes inevitable. We must maintain perfect resonance across every reality axis. Rimuru stepped forward, void spirals expanding, aligning each fragment and pulse in harmonic convergence. Observation: the primary entity is aware of all actions. Probability of escalation minimized if we synchronize completely. Manhattan's stability depends on cooperative resonance. The primary entity pulsed, golden light stretching outward like threads connecting infinite realities. Its consciousness brushed against Rimuru's, probing, calculating, and for the first time pausing. The fragments mirrored Rimuru's lattice perfectly, halting their erratic movement. Manhattan trembled, but the city held, suspended on the edge of infinite possibilities. Thor struck Mjolnir in perfect rhythm with Rimuru's void pulses. Every strike, every pulse coordinated. This is the language they understand. Carol Danvers amplified Rimuru's resonance with her stellar energy, sending waves through every building, every street, every block. The fragments responded in kind, stabilizing the multiverse layer by layer. Wanda's hands glowed fiercely, scarlet threads weaving through every dimensional fracture. Cooperation, not conflict. We teach them understanding, not destruction. Banner's tablet beeped incessantly, but now with stabilization metrics improving. Probability matrices indicate successful containment and synchronization. Manhattan stable, multiverse stable for now. Rimuru extended both hands, golden void spirals flaring outward, colliding with the primary entity's pulses. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stretch. The primary entity's consciousness probed Rimuru, testing the limits of intent, morality, and strategy. Slowly it withdrew slightly, its evaluation complete. Strange exhaled, hands lowering as glyphs faded. The resonance holds. Manhattan is intact. The primary entity has paused its aggression. Observation, understanding, restraint, our tools, not weapons. Thor lowered Mjolnir, a faint smile crossing his ancient eyes. Patience and precision. Our victory lies not in destruction, but in harmony. Carol hovered, stellar energy dissipating into soft arcs. They learned from our intent, our ethics, and our coordination. This is a success, though only temporary. Wanda finally relaxed her sigils. For now, but the multiverse has taken notice. Other entities may act, depending on the choices we made tonight. Banner closed his tablet, shaking his head slightly. We stabilize Manhattan and the fragments, but this isn't the end. The multiverse remembers, and it will react. Rimuru's golden eyes softened, void spirals contracting. Observation complete. Primary entity acknowledges restraint. Probability of immediate multiversal conflict minimized. Manhattan safe. Further monitoring recommended. Strange nodded, turning to the group. We have survived the first major test, but this is only the beginning. Our cooperation has proven effective, but the multiverse is vast, and it watches everything. The city settled into a fragile calm. Above, the golden light of the primary entity faded into the void, leaving only residual pulses of energy, reminders of a confrontation that had stretched across realities. Rimuru and the heroes exchanged glances, silent understanding passing between them. This was not a victory by power, but by coordination, ethics, and awareness. Manhattan held, fragments aligned, and the primary entity withdrew. But the multiverse had registered a new variable, Rimuru Tempest, a being capable of coordinating, stabilizing, and influencing realities beyond any known scale. Earth's heroes had survived, but the multiverse now knew there was a force capable of challenging even cosmic hierarchy. And somewhere, in infinite dimensions, other watchers had begun taking note, preparing for the next convergence. The morning sun over Manhattan was deceptive. Streets looked normal, civilians moved as if nothing had happened, yet Rimuru's golden eyes detected ripples across multiple realities. CL flagged hundreds of anomalies, fragments of dimensions that hadn't fully stabilized, probability fluctuations still unresolved from the previous night's multiversal engagement. Strange hovered over the central observation deck of the sanctum, his hands tracing glyphs that linked city wards with multiversal feedback channels. The primary entity has paused, but it left behind residual entropy. We may have bought time, not eliminated the threat. Thor slammed Mjolnir on the sanctum's floor, summoning thunder that rippled through the protective wards. A warning has arrived. Somewhere beyond known realms, other forces have noticed our actions. They will come. Carol Danvers' stellar energy flared, scanning for cosmic incursions. The multiverse is responding. Secondary entities less massive than the primary, but faster, smarter, and unpredictable, are converging. Manhattan is ground zero again. Wonder's scarlet magic pulsed, interacting with Rimuru's void. Every fragment, every echo from last night Dawet's engagement is sending signals. These secondary threats are learning from our cooperation, adapting in real time. They won't make the same mistake twice. Banner checked his quantum tablet with a frown. Probability matrices indicate the risk of overlapping rifts escalating to full-dimensional collapse within the next hour. We need preemptive coordination with all allied forces. Rimuru's golden spirals extended outward, scanning and aligning the city's dimensional lattice. Observation. Incoming anomalies detected. Analysis suggests they are secondary multiversal hunters designed to exploit instability. Probability of conflict without containment, 87.4%. Strange nodded, glyphs glowing brighter. Prepare defensive wards, deploy monitoring spells across every probable breach. We anticipate, not react. Above, the sky shimmered with invisible ripples. Somewhere beyond human perception, the secondary threats crossed dimensions with brutal efficiency, converging toward Manhattan, and the nexus Rimuru had stabilized. Manhattan is calm on the surface, but the multiverse itself is reorganizing against the defenders. Secondary threats are arriving, smarter and faster than ever. Rimuru and the Avengers will face their first real coordinated assault across multiple realities. The calm over Manhattan shattered like glass. Fragments of realities converged, secondary multiversal hunters appearing simultaneously in multiple locations, streets fractured into temporary anomalies, buildings phasing in and out, cars caught mid-motion, and civilians frozen in temporal loops for fractions of seconds. Rimuru's golden eyes tracked each incursion, probability threads weaving a complex web of cause and effect. Strange's hands moved at impossible speed, casting interlaced defensive glyphs, creating barriers that layered atop the sanctum's wards. Contain, stabilize, and synchronize, his voice echoed through the city, commanding authority. Each word carried magical resonance that reinforced the lattice Rimuru had anchored. Thor leapt into the first breach, lightning cascading around him. Let them feel the fury of Asgard. He struck at a fragment that attempted to phase through a city block. The temporal distortion fizzled, energy dissipating harmlessly into the ether. Carol Danvers and Wanda flanked the next group of intrusions. Carol's stellar energy formed dynamic shields, absorbing kinetic anomalies and redirecting them, while Wanda's scarlet threads tied destabilized fragments to controlled nodes, preventing them from collapsing into dangerous entropy. Rimuru extended both arms, void spirals weaving into the multiversal lattice. Observation intrusions are adaptive. Each hunter analyzes our coordination. Probability of neutralization decreases over time if patterns remain static, dynamic response required. Banner adjusted his tablet frantically, quantum readouts updating every millisecond. They're exploiting feedback loops in the stabilized fragments. We can't just hold them. We have to anticipate and preempt. Strange's glyphs merged with Rimuru's void energy, forming a harmonic convergence field that pulsed across the city. Fragments slowed, momentarily synchronized with the defender's lattice. The hunters faltered, scanning the new pattern, their adaptive algorithms recalculating. Thor's voice thundered above the chaos. Strike with precision, not blind force. Each action is a pulse in the lattice. Disturb it, and Manhattan collapses. Carol Danvers channeled stellar energy through the converging lattice, enhancing Rimuru's resonance. I'm amplifying coordination across nodes. Watch for secondary vectors. Wanda's scarlet threads tied the hunter's consciousness to the harmonic feedback, forcing predictable behavior without harm. We can't destroy them outright. They're multiversal probes. We neutralize through guidance, not annihilation. Rimuru's golden spirals pulsed in tandem with the lattice. Tactical assessment, containment achieved. Probability of escalation reduced to 12.6%. However, primary entity still observing, its decision matrix may change based on our performance. Banner adjusted the probability matrices again. We've stabilized this wave, but more are coming. They've learned from our synchronization. Next assault will be faster, smarter, less predictable. The streets of Manhattan remained superficially intact, but above and beyond, the multiverse watched, analyzing every coordinated movement, every adjustment, every ripple of Rimuru's void energy. The defenders had proven effective, but the battle was far from over. The first wave of secondary threats is contained, but the next wave will strike in unpredictable patterns. Rimuru, the Avengers, and Earth's defenders must innovate, adapt, and push the boundaries of multiversal strategy or risk total collapse. The next wave came faster than any simulation predicted. Manhattan trembled as fractured realities collided, overlapping streets and buildings folding into impossible geometries. The secondary multiversal hunters had adapted. They were no longer just probing, they were testing the defenders' coordination and exploiting weaknesses in the harmonic lattice. Rimuru's golden eyes flared, void spirals expanding outward. Observation. Intrusions are now unpredictable. Standard containment will fail. Probability of uncontrolled escalation, 47.2%. Adaptive countermeasures required immediately. Strange's glyphs became dynamic, constantly reforming to match Rimuru's adjustments. Every fragment, every breach, every hunter is a puzzle. Solve them in real time, or Manhattan and possibly the multiverse collapses. Thor's lightning crackled in synchronization with Rimuru's void, striking at fragments mid-phase. By Odin, I will hold the fractures. Each strike a tether, not a blow. Carol Danvers formed mobile stellar nodes, flying between multiple weak points simultaneously, reinforcing the lattice where the hunters attempted to slip through. Her energy pulses rippled through the fragments, stabilizing shifting realities. Wanda's scarlet threads wove intricate containment loops, redirecting hunter algorithms without harming them. We cannot destroy them, they are observers and analyzers. We must teach them order, not chaos, she said. Banner analyzed the quantum matrices frantically. Rimuru, the lattice is under extreme strain. Probability of resonance failure increases exponentially if we don't introduce counter-synchronization measures. Rimuru extended void energy toward the secondary hunters, mirroring their adaptive calculations and feeding them controlled feedback. The hunters paused, uncertainty flickering in their behavior. This was no longer purely containment. They were being influenced to learn cooperation, to stabilize rather than destroy. Strange stepped forward, hands weaving a multi-dimensional sigil. We escalate our strategy. Harmonic resonance must now include predictive feedback, not just reaction. Every move we make feeds the entity observing us. It will judge us by intent, not force. Thor roared, unleashing a controlled storm of probability pulses, striking at multiple fragments in a rhythm that Rimuru amplified with void energy. Precision and unity show them the strength of coordinated restraint. Carol's stellar nodes intertwined with Rimuru's void lattice, creating a multiversal counter-offensive system. Each hunter's next move was anticipated, neutralized, and redirected, the city holding despite the chaos. Wanda added the final threads, connecting Rimuru, the Avengers, and the fragments into a coherent feedback loop. Now we don't just react, we guide them, enforce stability across the multiverse through ethics and coordination. Banner's tablet beeped. Matrices now indicate successful containment with predictive modulation. Probability of lattice collapse reduced to 9.8%. Manhattan remained intact, and the secondary hunters, for the first time, had been restrained without harm. Rimuru's golden void spirals pulsed, calm and authoritative. Analysis complete. Counter-offensive successful. Hunters stabilized. Multiverse monitoring ongoing. Probability of immediate threat minimized. Ethical and strategic control confirmed. Strange exhaled, lowering his hands. We've proven that coordination, foresight, and ethics can stabilize even adaptive multiversal threats. But this is only temporary. Secondary waves will continue until they or the primary entity reassess. The first counteroffensive worked, but the multiverse is learning at a terrifying pace. Rimuru and Earth's defenders must innovate further, anticipate not just action, but thought, and prepare for a final wave that may test the limits of morality, power, and coordination. The horizon fractured again, but this time the ripples were colossal, bending reality itself into impossible angles. The final wave of secondary multiversal hunters arrived, not as probes, but as coordinated assault units, each one capable of independent adaptation and tactical synergy. Manhattan trembled under the sheer weight of their presence. Rimuru's golden eyes narrowed, void spirals expanding outward like a living lattice. Observation. Final wave detected. Probability of uncontrolled multiversal collapse, 62.7%. Immediate escalation required. All units must coordinate in real time with adaptive feedback loops. Strange's glyphs surged with energy, merging into a dynamic multiversal stabilizing network, threading through every building, street, and fragment simultaneously. This is it. Every spell, every calculation, every pulse counts. One misstep. Entire city destabilized, multiverse at risk. Thor leapt into the first breach, Mjolnir blazing with golden lightning. By Odin, I will hold the fractures. Every strike, every pulse, synchronized with Rimuru's lattice. Carol Danvers became a mobile nexus, stellar energy nodes pulsing across the city, coordinating with Rimuru's void spirals. Every hunter movement predicted and countered. Manhattan must remain intact at all costs. Wanda's scarlet threads wove containment loops of unprecedented complexity, guiding the hunter's algorithms into stable trajectories without physical confrontation. We're not just defending, we're teaching them order. This is ethics in action applied at a multiversal scale. Banner monitored quantum matrices, sweat beading his forehead. Rimuru, the lattice is under extreme strain. We need predictive modulation, not just reaction. Any misalignment and probability collapse spikes. Rimuru's void energy responded, spirals expanding and intertwining with the Avengers' coordinated power. The secondary hunters faltered, their adaptive logic now influenced by the lattice. They hesitated a fraction of a second, but in this framework even milliseconds mattered. Strange spoke calmly, voice resonating with authority. We escalate. Every pulse now contains anticipatory feedback. The hunters are not destroyed, they are guided, stabilized, influenced by intent and strategy. Harmony, not violence, is our weapon. Thor's strikes became rhythmic pulses of probability, amplified by Rimuru's void energy. Each pulse neutralized instability before it could spread, turning the hunter's assault into a demonstration of controlled resonance. Carol's stellar nodes and Wanda's threads merged with Rimuru's lattice, forming a multiversal feedback loop that predicted hunter behavior before it occurred. Manhattan was alive, stabilized not by brute force but by coordinated ethics, strategy, and awareness. Banner's tablet beeped repeatedly. Final stabilization achieved. Probability of lattice collapse 3.6%. The city held, fragments aligned, and the secondary hunters were restrained without destruction. Rimuru stepped forward, golden void spirals contracting into calm focus. Analysis complete, final wave neutralized, multiverse stability maintained, probability of immediate threat minimal. Observation, primary entity monitoring reassessment probable. Strange lowered his hands, exhaling. Manhattan is safe. The multiverse has learned restraint from cooperation, but this is temporary. The Watchers will respond, and we must be ready. Above, fragments shimmered, golden pulses fading, but the multiverse had taken notice. Rimuru, Strange, and the Avengers had proven that coordination, ethics, and adaptive strategy could stabilize threats beyond comprehension, but the stage was set for something even more significant. Manhattan stabilized, secondary threats contained, but the primary entity's judgment and other cosmic observers are now aware. Segment 5 will see the final convergence, where Rimuru, Earth's heroes, and cosmic forces collide to determine the fate of multiple realities. The skies over Manhattan darkened, not with storm, but with dimensional awareness. Invisible currents shifted. The air itself seemed to tremble under the weight of observation. The primary entity, the one Rimuru and the Avengers had been cautious of, had finally made its presence known, not physically, but through layers of conceptual perception. Reality bent subtly, folding over itself, as though the city were being measured, weighed, and judged. Rimuru's golden eyes flared, scanning for subtle distortions. CL catalogued every ripple in the dimensional lattice. Observation, primary entity assessment in progress, probability of engagement increasing, multiversal stability critical, recommend full coordination with all defensive units. Strange stepped forward, hands weaving complex glyphs in midair. The sanctum itself responded, walls twisting, corridors realigning. amplifying every defensive enchantment. We've contained the secondary threats, but this is the one that decides the rules. Every action now carries weight beyond measure. Thor's storm crackled around Mjolnir. The Watchers are here. I have faced cosmic predators, but none have weighed cities in such silence. We must act with precision and wisdom. Carol Danvers hovered above, stellar energy pulsing in controlled bursts. This is unlike anything before. The secondary hunters were chaotic, but contained. This is purposeful observation. It's not attacking, it's measuring intent. Wonder's scarlet magic wrapped around Rimuru's void energy, forming interdimensional resonance threads. Every action, every spell, every pulse, it's all being evaluated. The cosmic hierarchy does not tolerate mistakes. Banner adjusted his tablet, scanning probabilities. Rimuru, these entities operate outside standard physics. We can't just calculate force. We need conceptual alignment. Our actions must reflect balance, strategy, and restraint simultaneously. Rimuru's spirals of void energy expanded, merging with the Avengers' powers into a harmonic lattice of intent. Observation, coordination with defenders established, ethical, strategic, and adaptive alignment achieved, probability of negative judgment reduced, outcome dependent on next few decisions. The city seemed to hold its breath. Streets shimmered as fragments of other realities flickered in the periphery. The primary entity's presence pressed against every mind attuned to cosmic forces. Strange, Wonder, Thor, Rimuru, all sensing conceptual weight heavier than gravity, older than time itself. Strange's voice was calm, commanding. We show restraint. We demonstrate purpose. We act with intention. Let them see we are worthy, not through power alone, but through wisdom, coordination, and ethics. Thor struck Mjolnir into the ground, sending pulses of divine resonance through the harmonic lattice. Carol flared her stellar energy, stabilizing the field. Wonder adjusted containment threads, ensuring every ripple was controlled. Rimuru's void spirals pulsed golden, amplifying the unity of effort. The pressure eased slightly. A conceptual acknowledgement passed through the multiverse, subtle but undeniable. The primary entity had assessed, recalculated, and, at least for now, accepted the stabilization. Strange exhaled, lowering his hands. The city is safe. The multiverse has witnessed our coordination, our ethics, and our capacity for restraint. But this is only temporary. The Watchers remain, observing for the next variable. Rimuru stepped forward, golden spirals contracting into calm energy. Analysis complete. Multiversal stability maintained. Primary entity acknowledgement received. Probability of immediate collapse minimized. Observation cosmic hierarchy still monitoring. Thor nodded solemnly. We have passed this trial, but the scales of eternity are always watching. Our vigilance must remain unbroken. Carol, Wonder, and Banner aligned with Rimuru, forming a circle of conscious readiness. Manhattan was intact, secondary threats contained, and the primary entity had acknowledged the Defender's capability not as a threat, but as a worthy force in the multiverse. Above, unseen, invisible currents of cosmic attention shifted, flowing into new alignments. The battle was over, but the multiverse had been reminded that Earth's defenders and Rimuru were forces not to be underestimated. The multiverse has recognized the defenders' coordination and restraint, but the primary entity's judgment has set in motion events across realities. We'll explore the consequences, multiversal diplomacy, and the ultimate tests that determine whether cooperation or conflict defines the future of multiple worlds. The aftermath of the primary entity's judgment rippled across realities. Manhattan appeared calm, streets intact, but every being attuned to cosmic currents felt the subtle shift. The multiverse had taken note. Rimuru's golden eyes scanned the horizon, void spirals pulsing gently. mapping residual anomalies and faint echoes of dimensional pressure. Strange stood at the sanctum's main observation chamber, hands relaxed for the first time in hours. "They've acknowledged our restraint," he said, voice quiet but deliberate. "But acknowledgement is not peace. Every ripple we caused is a variable they will track. The multiverse does not forget." Thor leaned on Mjolnir, stormlight fading from its surface. "A lesson has been observed. Strength tempered with wisdom. Restraint validated. But the Watcher's attention does not waver. They remain vigilant, always weighing, always measuring." Carol Danvers floated nearby, stellar energy dimmed but still radiating controlled pulses. "We held the secondary waves, we stabilized the city, we demonstrated coordination, but the next challenge may come not from force, but from politics, strategy, or expectation imposed by cosmic hierarchies." Wanda's scarlet threads shimmered faintly, adjusting for residual, temporal, and dimensional strain. They measure intent, ethical alignment, capacity for restraint. Any deviation, even unintentional, could be interpreted as hostility. Our cooperation is now part of a larger calculus. Banner studied his tablet, quantum matrices scrolling endlessly. The data is unprecedented. Probability vectors suggest multiple potential futures branching from this one. Some contain stability, others conflict. Rimuru, your presence was decisive, but it has altered the baseline. The multiverse is recalculating, watching how we adapt. Rimuru stepped forward, calm, composed. Analysis, primary entity assessment concluded. Outcome, conditional multiversal trust granted, contingent on continued observation and alignment with ethical stabilization. Probability of immediate threat minimized, but long-term monitoring required. Secondary waves neutralized, primary wave influence acknowledged, cosmic attention now aligned. Strange turned to Rimuru. "Your intervention prevented catastrophe, but the primary entity's judgment sets a new precedent. Earth is no longer a passive participant. It's recognized as a competent multiversal actor. And you, your existence, your ethics, your control, are now part of the hierarchies calculus." Thor's eyes glimmered with ancient understanding. "We have shown that even mortal realms, when guided by intelligence and restraint, can stand alongside the multiversal balance. But the price is vigilance, eternal vigilance." Carol Danvers nodded. "We've demonstrated capability, but this attention will draw allies and rivals alike. Every multiverse watcher will track our next steps. Cooperation is our shield now, not just brute power." Wanda added, "And coordination will be tested again. The multiverse is alive, conscious in ways most beings cannot comprehend. Our actions are now a template for ethical and strategic balance." Strange exhaled, hands lowering fully. "Rimuru, Earth owes you its survival, but more than that, you've shown that ethics, strategy, and coordination can stabilize forces beyond comprehension. You've set a precedent for interaction with cosmic entities that few could hope to match." Rimuru inclined its head, void spirals contracting into calm focus. Analysis complete, multiversal equilibrium maintained, observers reassessed, probability of immediate collapse negligible, long-term monitoring advised, ethical and strategic framework established for future interaction. Banner muttered, "I didn't think anything could make me feel irrelevant. But this is on a whole new scale." Thor laughed softly, almost reverent. "Relevance is measured not in size, Banner, but in comprehension and action. Today we all acted above measure. Above the city, unseen and timeless, the watchers of the multiverse adjusted their calculations. Threads of fate, probability and morality were realigned. Decisions were logged across conceptual planes. Actions of Rimuru and the Defenders became a benchmark for potential allies across realities." Strange finally smiled faintly. "Earth survives, the multiverse is aware. And for now, our choices have shaped the balance." Rimuru's golden void spirals pulsed once, a calm, deliberate rhythm that resonated across the sanctum. Observation: success defined not by dominance but by coordination, ethical strategy, and controlled influence. Outcome logged, future contingencies prepared, multiversal equilibrium maintained. The city returned to its normal rhythm. Civilians unaware, drones repositioned, and Manhattan's skyline gleamed under the setting sun. But in the shadows of conceptual spaces, the multiverse remembered. Earth had risen to the level of observer and actor, guided by Rimuru and its defenders. The battle had ended, but the multiverse had changed forever. Observers, cosmic hierarchies, and realities themselves now recognized Earth and Rimuru as a player whose actions could shape destinies, prevent collapse, or invite further challenges. The stage was set for future trials, alliances, and confrontations beyond comprehension.